Howdy, Chiefs Kingdom.
What's up?
It's Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock. You know what that means. It's time for Chiefs Kingdom Live. Thanks, everybody who's joining us. Don't forget, just real quick, hit that like, hit that subscribe, tell a friend, be doing us a big favor, and honestly, be doing them a favor too. So follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can find us at Chiefs Kingdom Live. We're working on a new giveaway, and it looks like we're going to do something when we get to 2,500 followers on Twitter and 250 subscribers here on YouTube. And if you've noticed a theme with our prize giveaways, there's been players, and there's a certain player that was number 25 for the Chiefs for a while. Maybe you can put 2 and 2 together, or 12 and 13 together and get 25. But really appreciate everybody who's joining us, watching. Send us a comment. Like I said, hit like, hit subscribe. Fellas, how are we doing this week? Bo?
Doing great, man. Coming off of a W, traveled up to Colorado, going to get some skiing in. Life can't be better right now. How about yourself, Nick?
I'm doing great. I don't know if you guys know this, but we just beat the Broncos for the 14th time in a row. So I'm doing pretty damn good.
I'll drink to that.
I got to take my shoes and socks off to count to 14. That's a big number. But, yeah, we'll break that game down. There's a lot good and not so good to talk about that game. Got our man JT. No, JT, no Niners talk tonight, buddy. But,
that was last night, my man.
John V might jump in later and bring the Niners up. So, don't get too bummed out here. You might get a little bit of 49ers talk, but appreciate you joining in. Then we're going to talk about this week's poll and then look ahead to the game Sunday against the Houston Texans, which is not the greatest game to break down or dissect necessarily. It's a team that's going nowhere. Should be pretty ho-hum, easy win for the Kansas City Chiefs this Sunday. But first on hand here, let's talk about that Broncos win.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Bo.
I was saying I thought that was going to happen on this Sunday, but that game was a little bit closer than I was hoping for it to be.
If you follow us on Twitter, I put out a tweet when the Chiefs, I believe it was after the Willie Gay pick six where they went up 27-0. And I said, man, this is a fun game of football to watch. And it was all kind of downhill after that. We're going to get into that game here in more detail. But how are you guys? What was your feelings? What were your emotions watching the Chiefs get up to a huge, a 4-score lead? And then have to sweat it out at the end. Nick?
Well, I'm trying to be positive, right? However, there were some things that were glaring in that game that I'm sure we're going to get into, but we really just need to look at the dominance that we've had over a division opponent for, since the Obama administration. And so I don't want to be too negative. I mean, it gets harder and harder to beat teams, and I want to say credit to the Broncos for not quitting. They're a team that's 3-9. They were down 27-0, and they kept fighting, and they climbed somewhat back into the game. They never really, took a lead, but they got within a touchdown. They had the ball. They could have went and scored and tied it up or taken the lead. Maybe if Russell Wilson doesn't scramble his brains up a little bit on that play, then we have a different result, right? And so I want to say credit to them. And I don't think that as fans we maybe appreciate the mindset of the Broncos coming into that game, where they want to beat the Chiefs. There's players on that team that have been on that team for years and have never beat the Chiefs. Nobody on that team as a Broncos ever beat Patrick Mahomes. The Broncos have never seen the Broncos fans have never seen the Broncos beat Patrick Mahomes in their stadium or at all. not even on TV. So I think that we need to appreciate that and maybe some of the mindset and how that team was able to claw their way back into that game. So I'm going to take the W. We're going to talk about some of the things that we hope to see the Chiefs clean up as we go forward. But, John, don't worry. I'm not going to be overly negative. I mean, a win is a win in the National Football League, especially over a division opponent. So,
Yeah.
Right. I'll take a W any day of the week, right? And you kind of hit it right on the head. Like, we just kind of roller coasted after the second half there. My takeaway from this whole game was, like, I was watching my dog play tug of war with a Frenchie, way smaller dog than her. And sometimes she just lets the dog get the toy and lets it run around with it a couple times, but she takes it back. She lets it know it's hers. Saw that in this game, right? Like, everybody's on the bench at halftime, smiling, high-fiving, playing like hacky sack on the sideline and stuff, just having a great time. We lost our focus and made it way closer than it should have been. But I'm with Nick. I'll take a W any day of the week. I don't know if it's us always playing down to opponents, which seems to kind of be the case. But, man, every team seems to play us just harder than they played the opponent last week or whatever. Teams just play us harder than most people. So those were my takeaways. I agree. We'll get into more. I agree. There's a bunch that we could fix. We'll get into that game. What about you, Scott? What was your takeaway?
Just the team, we've talked about this before, they seem to be allergic to leads and big leads.
Right.
And it was like a little bit of everybody contributing to blowing the 27-0 lead. Patrick had a hand in it. The defense had a hand in it. Like you said, there was the picture of the classic shot of Travis Kelce on the sidelines, his arms up, turning ear to ear, like, yeah, all right.
Life is good.
And then it seemed just like that you're looking at it and you're going into halftime and you're thinking, they get the ball at half. If they score a touchdown, this is a one-possession game somehow. But no, it was I was so excited watching the first half, thinking that I was going to get to watch a nice, easy Chiefs game without any stress. And then, like, just right on cue, one thing after another started to snowball going against them. They had, the turnovers to me are crazy, and we'll get into those more in detail. But yeah, it was just, that's kind of like been the story of the Chiefs season, right? They're out to the lead, but you feel like there's these other teams that are like nipping right at their heels. And so a win's a win. I was excited to beat the Broncos. You mentioned it's, not necessarily the Chiefs playing down. Nick, you said about Chiefs playing down in their competition. Teams definitely rise up to play the Chiefs. It's a lot of teams Super Bowl that you say you can beat the Chiefs, especially the Broncos after not having won it. The last quarterback to beat the Chiefs was Peyton Manning, and he's in the Hall of Fame now. Think about that for a second. So,
Right.
Yeah, those guys. This game had it all, though. It had the highs and the lows of being a Chiefs fan. So let's just get into it. Chiefs come out.
Sure. Wait, real quick. By your request, sir. By your request. We'll see how this goes. My internet kind of sucks up here, but if they're going to run ads on our videos, we'll give them a reason to. So you guys all enjoy this little video right here.
Holmes in the pocket, avoids pressure, tries to run for, stiff arms the defender, slings it to McKinnon at the 40, to the 30, to the 20, to the 10, to the 5, touchdown! Touchdown, Kansas City. Batman loves this stadium! That is vintage Patrick Mahomes. That is just ridiculous, too. And he just slings it under his hip to McKinnon for a 56-yard touchdown.
By Patrick Mahomes, the Magic Man, Jerick McKinnon, and he on the same page. Outstanding job. This is playground stuff that we get to witness. Chiefs Kingdom, we're spoiled. We love it.
The Broncos had him dead for rights, and then he slung it underhanded. A yard and a half for the Broncos. A play action fake. They're going to throw it. Now the pass is intercepted off the tip. Willie Gay Jr. 30-yard line, 20-yard line, 10-yard line, 5-yard line. Touchdown, Kansas City. Defense gets the pick six.
There's definitely a lot more to that video, but yeah, just had to throw that in there. We had to get the toss in for everybody. So if they missed it, now they've seen it.
Yeah, thanks for the video, non-courtesy of the Kansas City Chiefs and CBS Sports, NFL on CBS. They
haven't taken us off of YouTube yet.
Right, they haven't kicked us off yet. But yeah, so the Chiefs come out, they're moving the ball. Everybody talks about this Broncos defense, and how many times have we heard it? Oh, they're the number one scoring defense. Oh, they're holding teams. They've only given up X amount of touchdowns in the red zone. They're the best red zone defense. The Chiefs, I am convinced that it doesn't matter. You can have the 85 Bears defense, and the Chiefs are still throwing up 28 points on them. They just cannot be stopped on offense. They stall out, and they had to kick a couple field goals, which is 3 weeks in a row now. That's becoming a trend. That's a little concerning. But they were moving the ball on the Broncos defense. The Chiefs defense came out, kind of gave up some third down conversions on the opening drive by Denver. But really, the Chiefs came out and they started putting this game away. They were scoring and getting into scoring position on every drive. You saw the crazy, I don't know, it's not sidearmed, it's not underhanded, like side-handed pass to Jerick McKinnon. If you go on the Chiefs Twitter account or on their website or in the app, there's a pretty funny video where they're talking about the play, Jerick McKinnon and Brandon Williams, and I'm trying to think maybe Pacheco is sitting there with them too. And McKinnon says, I thought he was either going to run or do some crazy shit, so I just ran upfield.
What Brandon Williams said is like, dang, that was crazy.
Right, yeah, he's new to the team, so he's getting firsthand. You watch it on TV, but that's got to feel pretty good. Sitting on the sidelines, having that guy you're on his team now, and he's got your back. So the play's never over with Patrick Mahomes. They came out and they were just moving the ball at will and scoring points and get up to the 27-0 lead. You're thinking, hey, man, put this on cruise control. Is Chad Henne going to come in the third quarter maybe? Is this going to be a 50-burger game, which I know you've been waiting on, Bo?
Oh, bro, I was this close to texting you guys a burger emoji. And then I was going to put in, hey, maybe this week's Twitter poll, whose crowd booed louder, ours at the refs when they blew some calls on Chris Jones, or the Denver fans about to boo Russell Wilson off? I was completely expecting that to happen. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask you guys, what were you thinking? What was standing out to you as the Chiefs built that 27-0 lead? And they got to 27 with the help of the defensive touchdown, obviously, but that was early in the second quarter. It was 27-0. You're thinking, man, this is like 60-burger time. I mean, they're going to call their own score. Nick, what stood out to you from the good there to start off building that big lead on the road against Denver?
Yeah, the obvious was the flip play by Mahomes, whatever you want to call it. Looked like he's throwing a skee ball, no look for a touchdown. Brenda here, she said McKinnon is always by Patrick tackling, blocking. McKinnon stood out. McKinnon had a hell of a game, just really everywhere. And, his legs weren't tired during that game. And the defense was really getting to Russell Wilson. Oh, there you go. You got it right there. Hold tire legs McKinnon. So the defense was, we had 6 sacks. We had 11 knockdowns. We had a batted pass. It was a pick 6. The defense was really just imposing their will on the team. And so that's really, it was like everybody. I mean, and I know that this was after the lead kind of dissipated, but Tommy Townsend had a 70-plus yard punt. And I know it went into the end zone, but dude, how crazy was that? And it wasn't like it rolled for 20 yards. I mean, it landed at like the 2 or 3 and rolled into the end zone. I mean, how often do you see a guy
get the cameraman confused on a punt, man? You bombed one. Like he was just like, wait, where am I put? Oh, it's back way over here. Oh my God.
Yeah. A couple of games ago, he got tested right after the game because he had a 58-yard fair catch. Pat McAfee was talking about it, not just kicking a 58-yard ball, but kicking at 58 yards, and the hang time is so good that the guy has to fair catch it because the return, the coverage has gotten to him. So credit to him. But yeah, just really the team having fun and just kicking the shit out of the Broncos, right? That's really stood out to me was that this team is just that much better than this Broncos team. And then, we had some careless mistakes that put us in a bad spot.
Yeah. To me, it was just, Travis Kelce had one big catch there in the first half down the middle of the field, but they were kind of doing it without him really contributing a lot. Guys were stepping up. What stood out to me, and I'd like to say I hate to brag and say I told you so, but I don't. I like to brag and I like to say I told you so. This Pacheco McKinnon 1-2 punch is really good.
Finally.
It's really good. And we've been calling for that on this show all season since week 1. I think Clyde drifts off into the background now. He's on IR, and you hate to see anybody get injured. There's a video that he put out on Twitter a week and a half ago too, where he's like out riding 4-wheelers. And I'm thinking, is that the best thing to be doing, rehabbing an ankle injury when you're an NFL player in season? But yeah, that's really what's obviously the freakish pass by Mahomes stands out. But just it seemed like they were getting offense and moving the ball against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Without Travis Kelce, McCole Hardman is still on IR. He's not in there. They don't have Kadarius Toney, which I know he's a fairly new addition to the team, but he produced right away when he got
Hardman
here.
started practicing today. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Right. That's a good sign. We'll talk. We'll get to maybe his return when we talk about the Texans game. So, to me, this Pacheco and McKinnon, the play is never dead. Guys are always scrambling, fire drilling it. Kudos, props to McKinnon. That was a fingertip catch too, and he kept his balance and was able to still outrun the linebacker to score the long touchdown. As someone who recently picked up and started Jerick McKinnon on his fantasy football team, I was even more excited to see McKinnon really dominating. He scored another receiving. He had another receiving touchdown there in that first half to help build that 27-0 lead. That combo is looking wicked. And if the Chiefs have a running game now and they got those guys going and you get McCole Hardman back and teams can't just focus on like Travis and Juju, they can't just drop this rush 3, drop 8 into coverage. Okay, well, McKinnon and Pacheco are going to eat you alive if you do that. So that was what I was really enjoying. Watching what stood out to me most there.
No, and that's a great observation, man. I feel like they kind of leaned into the running game a bit this game, and with success, man. Like Pacheco running it, I hadn't seen any Chiefs running back run that hard all season, maybe like in the past 2 or 3 seasons. I was so thrilled with how he just come out and not only get a yard or 2, but he would break tackles, get some yards after the first contact, right? Like, yeah, just impressive running, going over the sidelines, just pumped. You know what I mean? Like that kid he understands what he's doing. He understands what he just did for the team. So yeah, good observation, man. Kudos to that guy.
Yeah, they looked good. They were running the ball. Patrick, they were throwing the ball. I mean, it's not like they weren't. They were kind of eating up the Broncos with the screen passes there. The Broncos were kind of, when they were blitzing, kind of like we saw them do to us later in the game where they burned us for a long touchdown, which we'll get to it here in a second. So, yeah, Chiefs, they're up 27-0. You're thinking the team's got it on easy street. Let's just pack this in. And then Patrick Mahomes has a couple interceptions. And then the defense gives up a couple of touchdowns. And you're thinking, okay, it's still up 27-14, but Broncos are getting the ball to start the second half. My danger Will Robinson alarm wasn't necessarily going off at that point, but I was a little concerned. The defense, here's the deal. I understand Patrick put him in bad situations there in bad spots with the turnovers. Patrick, the consummate pro, the ultimate leader, took responsibility. So, my guys bailed me out after the game. And that's what you want to hear from Patrick, and that's what you want to hear from the leader of your football team. But, just because Patrick throws an interception or two doesn't mean you can't still get a stop. How many times has Patrick bailed out the defense when they gave up a late score and went down and won the game late? So I don't know what was going on. What were you seeing with the defense on a couple of those drives there?
Dude, it's the spread curse right now, man. For some reason, we can't cover it. John Clifford nailed it. Whenever they give us a decent spread, it's just like, no, there goes that game. Do not take the over on that.
No, yeah, the Chiefs I want to say they're well below 500 against the spread this year. So definitely not a good idea to be laying any money on the Chiefs in Vegas right now. Maybe money line for the win, but you definitely want to be playing the point spread against them. What were you seeing? Obviously, Patrick, the first interception, it looked like the defender kind of fooled him a little bit. It looked like Mahomes was looking him off over here to throw back here. It looks like the defender kind of faked like he was buying it, and then at the last second went back. It was a hell of an interception by the defender's part. The second interception was Patrick was trying to throw it away at someone's feet, and it bounces off the dude's wrist somehow into his chest. Those are kind of fluky. So, let's give some credit to the defender for making the first interception. A little fluky thing when you try to squeeze the ball in there and make the plays, the tight window thread the needle throws that Patrick Mahomes makes regularly. That's going to happen from time to time. I wasn't as hard on him as I was the defense for not being able to just get him the ball back quickly. Letting the Broncos go down and score back-to-back touchdown drives was killed. What were you seeing from the defense that was you thought maybe they were struggling with, or what led to them letting the Broncos kind of work their way back into the game there at the end of the first half? Nick?
I think our secondary is very young, and they're not playing super great. They've allowed, I think, the most passing touchdowns in the NFL this year. And so it's easy to point fingers at them, but some of those are also because we're not getting enough pressure in key situations on the quarterback and rushing some of those throws and forcing them to check down, which kind of leaves those rookies out to dry. So I think it's twofold, right? We don't have the super solid backfield, and then on top of that, when we really need to get to the quarterback, a lot of times we don't, even if we rush extra people. So you add a fifth or sixth rusher, they get picked up at the line. Now you got guys on an island back there, and they're not there yet. So that's really what I'm seeing. I think it's a twofold problem, and I'm not sure exactly what the solution is. It looks like, I hate to sit there and say, well, we can't get to the quarterback in a game where we had 6 sacks, but you got to get the sacks at the right time too. You can't leave your guys out to dry, and it's not just all about sacks. You got to force some of those throws. So, and Russell Wilson looked pretty good in that game. He had that interception, which was a freak athletic play by Willie Gay. So credit to Gay on that play, but the guy was open. He was throwing it to, and Russell Wilson was scrambling around. He had a ton of rushing yards, and he made some plays. And so credit to them, but I just think that our secondary just is not good enough, and we really need our defensive line, which has a lot of money invested in it with veteran guys, that they need to step up and really help those dudes out in those situations.
Right. Bo?
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. I think it was just this was such a weird game because we had 6 sacks, right? So it's did we get pressure on the quarterback? Yeah, we got pressure on the quarterback. We had 6 sacks, right? We had an interception. We had a turnover, right? All these things we were talking about defensively that we were kind of lacking, we kind of made up for in this game. But then we just let our foot off the gas, and everybody just I don't know what, there was a big foggy moment in that game for like Scott was alluding to, on both sides of the ball. Everybody was pitching in. The defense included. And you're totally right. For me, I was noticing our run tackling was just our run on defense. We couldn't tackle the runners whatsoever. I don't think we were expecting Russell Wilson to run the ball, especially as well as he did. So that caught everybody off guard, and he was kind of able to really play that to his advantage. But it's been one of our, I feel like one of our weaknesses in general, just being able to stop the run attack. And that really showed today. But then also to your credit, or what you were saying, Russell Wilson had himself a game, dude. I mean, of course, teams do that to us. Of course, go figure. Out of all teams to do it to, the Broncos have themselves a game. But yeah, man, Nick nailed both nails right on the head, man. Our secondary is just young and kind of still inexperienced. You give Russell Wilson enough time, and in certain situations, he'll find the open guy and make it kind of look bad. But it's a passing league. It's hard to cover guys for longer than 4 or 5 seconds. So like these quarterbacks now, they're just extending plays so well that it's really hard to keep a guy covered completely for that long. But yeah, I agree with Nick. I like to see everything tighten up a little bit, get to the quarterbacks at the right times, not when we're just 27 up, everybody's having a great time. But yeah, when they're starting to make a comeback, let's get some pressure on them. And we just weren't able to do that this week, unfortunately.
Third downs, man. Third downs
was brutal. And the Broncos were one of the worst third down conversion teams in the NFL going into that game. To me, the secondary was the problem. Bo, you mentioned the missed tackles. That's been a theme for several games now.
Right.
But to me, it just looks like our secondary, our corners. McDuffie had a fairly, I'm not going to say fairly good game. He had a really good game covering Jamar Chase in that game against the Bengals. But I don't know where the miscommunication was that led to a wide open touchdown there. I want to say it was the second touchdown they scored. Jerry Jeudy's just standing in the end zone by himself. You can't let Jerry Jeudy. I mean, he's the only real legit threat. And the wide receiving core, which has been decimated by injuries, they don't have really a pass catching tight end that you have to concern yourself with that much. So to me, to lose track of Jerry Jeudy is really, really puzzling to me. But it looks like our other corners too. It just looks like they're struggling to make plays. You don't see them turning and jumping up and knocking the ball away. You don't see them.
Right.
It seems like they're trailing. It seems like there's confusion. It looks like the safeties are maybe not giving help where they need help. Again, without knowing who's supposed to cover who, it's really hard to pick on one person in particular. So the secondary is a concern to me. It's been a concern for me all season. To have that much youth, especially once you traded away Rashad Fenton a few weeks ago. L'Jarius Sneed, he's a veteran player, but he's really more of like a slot corner, a blitzing corner. The youth and all the rookies in the secondary, to me, is still a concern. And you saw it. I want to say Jerry Jeudy had scored like 4 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons, and he has 3 against us. So that needs to get better. I don't know if it gets better with experience. Of course, Andy Reid and the coaches aren't going to trash those guys and throw them under the bus. But when you're paying guys like Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones and Travis Kelce the kind of money that you're paying them, you're going to have to gamble and roll the dice with some rookies in some other areas. And the Chiefs felt secondary was where they wanted to maybe not put the money in and go with youth. And the team's 10-3, so it's kind of hard to complain about the results too much, but
especially for a retooling year, right?
Right. It's still the biggest concern for me, which is a really big concern when you think of who the Chiefs' main competition is in the AFC. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs with the Bills, and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and company on the Bengals. That's a weakness that really does not match up well with the strengths of the upper echelon, the main competition for the Chiefs in the AFC. But
right.
The team held on. And to me, that's the sign of a tough, resilient football team. How many times have you seen a team blow a big lead and it just all goes to hell and they lose?
Raiders.
Yeah, exactly. So the second half, the Broncos come out. That was kind of a weird gotcha touchdown where they threw the perfect screen pass into the perfect blitz for a long touchdown. But after that, the defense stiffened up. I want to say the defense took the field 3 or 4 times in the second half, where if they give up a touchdown, the Broncos get the lead, and they didn't. So for as hard as we want to be on them for kind of giving up the lead there in the second quarter, early in the third quarter, they stiffened and they manned up when it really mattered most. Part of that was the Russell Wilson injury. And I hate to give credit to any Broncos players, especially Russell Wilson, who I think is just a corny dude. But for him to lower the shoulder and go for that first down, their season is over. Even if they beat us, they're not winning out. They're not going to make the playoffs. To lay your body and sacrifice your well-being for kind of a meaningless first down in a meaningless game. I know there's been criticism of him by the fans. There's been talk that maybe he's lost some of the locker room, maybe some of his antics or his personality and poor play is kind of rubbing some of his teammates the wrong way, and you've seen some bickering and maybe some infighting. That dude laid it out there when he really didn't need to. And so, like I said, I hate to give credit to Russell Wilson or any Broncos player. But, hey, man,
I think you're alluding to it, though, man, right? Like, I think he knows what's going on. I think he hears all the babble.
Are you sure?
And I think he was, there's certain times where, like, if, like, you just play it out on the field, those guys will follow you, right? And I feel like that's what he was trying to do. He's trying to kind of, like, lead by example, showing, like, hey, regardless of all this chatter and however weird you think I am doing high knees on an airplane and coming out with dangerous sandwiches and all this stuff, I will put my body on the line. I'm trying to win, right? Hope you guys will too. So I know what you're saying. Credit to him. Like, I feel like that's what he was doing. And I feel like he played really well against us, which
he did.
Was kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
He was knocked out too on that play.
Right. Then Patrick, it's kind of overshadowed because of the even more miraculous, amazing, jaw-dropping touchdown pass he had in the first half. That play, that touchdown he made to Juju where he's scrambling around and buying time, and he got walloped after he threw that pass, that touchdown. I hate you, man. I don't want to see Patrick taking hits like that too often. But that was a hell of a play when the team really needed it. The defense got a stop or two there to maintain the lead. Chiefs, they didn't put the game away there, but Patrick, old reliable, old faithful, comes through again and makes an amazing touchdown pass. What do you think? What was working for the offense? What did you see out of maybe the defense that they were able to stiffen up there in the second half? And what did you see from the offense that really helped kind of eke out the win? Is that the right term to use? I don't. It was a pretty close game. I only won by 6. Nick?
Well, Russell Wilson showing everybody, his extra special recipe because you got to let Russ cook for scrambled brains helped out because he's a backup quarterback. I made that joke in a private chat with Scott and Bo, and Bo's been pinging me on the side saying, you got to tell that joke. You got to tell that joke. So sorry for making fun of an injury. But it's more making fun of Russell Wilson. I hope he's okay. I don't want anybody to actually be that injured, but he was
knot on his head too, man. He got whacked.
He got whacked. So hope he's doing all right. He seemed like he was up and around and talking and stuff pretty soon after the play. So, but having a backup quarterback obviously helped. And then just I think the Chiefs are a good team at mostly just doing just enough when they have to. And it's really like they relied on Patrick Mahomes. I know he had 3 interceptions. I know that's a big takeaway. And I don't know if we're going to get into the MVP conversation, and everybody, wanting to jump ship and say that, Hurts is the MVP, which is to me is irrelevant at this point. I really don't give a shit about who wins MVP. I care about who wins the Super Bowl. But, Patrick, when the chips are down and it's like, I need a play, more often than not, he delivers. And I think that's kind of part of the problem with the Chiefs too, is it's kind of like they know that they've got that ace in the hole that Patrick's going to figure it out. And so I don't know if that helps them with a lack of focus, but I think that's really it. It's we have Patrick Mahomes and they don't, right? And they had a backup quarterback. And let's be honest, if that was a better team, we've seen how that game can play out in the AFC Championship last year. So
right.
I don't want to be overly negative because we won. However, if we want to get where we think we can get with this team this year, they're going to have to play better than that. So,
Yeah, but how much of it this year does it feel like they're not putting the game on Patrick's shoulders completely? Like, yeah, we rely on him to make plays, as every team does on their quarterback. They rely on him to do his job out there. But like, I feel like last year it was just like, all right, Patrick, you have no defense. Like, you gotta score 35 this game. Like, you just got to, right? And like, I felt
especially
like
earlier in the season.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
completely. And I really haven't felt that once this year. I don't know if like it's just me, but like my like oh shit radars you were mentioning earlier didn't really like go off this game. Like of course we go up 27-0, and like I never felt like they were gonna come back and do anything. And even if they did, we have the guys that we have, and they've been in that position before. But yeah, it's just funny. Like this team is it's weird for being a retooling season, right? Like they're performing so admirably that like the little mistakes are like, oh well, this retooling season might be a Super Bowl season, really. Like let's tighten this ship up and let's get this done, boys. And I think that's where like our frustration comes in watching this, like letting them kind of come back and like tightening like the defense. Like, come on, guys, like let's
Yeah, they made the plays when they needed to in the second half. A couple things that stood out to me. Yeah, Patrick had 3 interceptions. We also had 350 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Right.
Yeah.
That's becoming casual stat line for Patrick Mahomes. And when you look at other teams, it's hard to throw for 300 yards in a football game, especially against one of the best defenses in the NFL. And he looks like he does it with ease. They made big plays they needed to. The defense getting stops, getting the interception. I never saw what the penalty was on Frank Clark after the interception, but it's kind of
right. Yeah, I never saw that either.
That's also
never sure. He's probably talking to somebody, you know.
Yeah, probably talking to somebody.
He wasn't taking his helmet off and yelling at a referee and bumping into him on the field. I know.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need to start doing, because that's not even a penalty if you're Jerry Jeudy for some reason. So
yeah,
it's even more frustrating to think that maybe the guy that scored 3 touchdowns shouldn't have been in the game. I made a joke on Twitter that Chris Jones would have been like, they'd force him to retire if he would have done that to an NFL referee. Chiefs would have forced him. But yeah, at the end though, to me that stood out was Isaiah Pacheco running the ball, and it's a 1-possession game. Chiefs get the ball with 3.5 minutes left, somewhere there, 4 minutes.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
And they bled the clock.
Yeah.
Finally. Yeah.
Finally. You know, they didn't
by running.
Right, by running. Now they did make was that the last drive where MVS caught the 3rd down pass on the sideline? That was the closing drive. So Patrick made a play. Defense made plays to get the offense the ball back, to hold the lead. Yet again, if they give up a touchdown, you're losing, because it's 6-point margin. Pacheco, that last run he had for 11 yards on 2nd and 10 to ice the game away. That dude, he trucked number 21, whoever that guy was.
I got to figure out how to watch the game with the Mitch Holthus audio, man, because him calling that play specifically was so great. He's talking about like, oh, the box is there, and Isaiah Pacheco says, "Oh, close that box."
Yeah, he did. He closed it. So it was good to see the Chiefs offense run a 4-minute drill, get first downs, and not give the ball back to the other team, not give the ball back to the Broncos, and give them another shot to go down there and possibly get a late touchdown to get up by 1 there.
So real quick in the chat here, we've had Brenda and Hefe talking about Spags. As far as blame, and where do you view that? Are you more on the players for this performance, or the performance overall this season where the defense is lacked, or are you more on Spags, blaming him for maybe not getting people in the right position or not playing to their strengths? Scotty?
I'm always, even so, to the good too, the good and the bad. I'm always more player. I think it has more to do with the players than the coaches. Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame coach. He's up there and wins, but he didn't get a Super Bowl until he got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and company. So the defense, to me, I don't. We've seen Spags do some silly blitzing and make some bad decisions, leaving guys one-on-one in critical situations on long third downs. We've seen some questionable play calling on the defense. But to me, guys got to make plays. Spags isn't out there missing tackles. Spags isn't out there running into receivers when it's 2nd and 20 and giving them a pass interference for a first down. Spags isn't out there letting Russell Wilson run and giving up a 2nd and 34 because guys are open and breaking tackles and dragging guys for 5 and 10 yards after contact. I'm always more critical of players, and I'm always more complimentary of players than I am coaches. With that said, we won a Super Bowl with him here his first year. We had Tyrann Mathieu in his first year. He was there was a huge difference between Tyrann Mathieu's first year and his last couple of years with the team. The defense was fairly solid that year, but it still wasn't like a top 10 unit. He's been here for a handful of years now, and the defense just is not – I mean, just give Patrick Mahomes a top 10 defense. I'm usually 80% player, 20% coach. Is usually where I think the distribution of the praise or the criticism usually needs to go. Because, I mean, have you ever seen a coach who's a great coach win with a lot of bad players? I mean, what's Bill Belichick been up to the last couple of years? Once he lost Gronk, and once he lost Tom Brady, and he lost Vince Wilfork and some of these guys from their dynasty years. So, yeah, I always think it has more to do with the players than the coaches. But I'm also not a huge Spags fan. Depending on how this season shakes out at the end of the year, if the defense can't kind of get themselves in that top 10, top 15 range, I think maybe it's time to look for a change there. Bo, what do you think?
Yeah, man, I agree with what you said. But my percentages are a little bit different. I'm like 60-40, right? Because it's such a coaching game that these players execute what the coaches tell them to do most of the time, right? When like a player doesn't execute, it's pretty obvious. Like, oh, that was a super blown coverage, or like you were alluding to, yeah, he just jumped up and hit the guy, didn't even try to block the ball down kind of thing. But then there's so many times where like you see Chris Jones on the outside or something, right? Or like you see rookies trying to cover top 3 receiver in the league, man on man, and you're sending 7 to the quarterback. Like it's a little bit of both. But like I can't help but feel that a lot of this is on the coaches, though, more so than the players. When you have these young guys who seem to be rather coachable, right? Like they make a mistake, they don't seem to make that mistake again. I feel like it's got to be on the coach at that point, man. You got to like scheme it right.
Yeah,
I've seen way too much man-to-man this year in certain situations where it's just like, hey, you can't do it on this guy specifically. Maybe run man-to-man on everybody else, but there's certain number 1 receivers you can't leave them by themselves with rookies. And so I'm going to kind of have to lean towards the coaches on that one.
Right. I think Spags kind of is forced into some of that blitzing, though, because how many times have you seen when we don't blitz and we just try to rush 4 guys, the quarterback's got all day to stand back there? And now you're depending on your corners to cover, like you said, for 6 or 7 or 8 seconds, which is really tough to do. The defense, I mean, we've seen teams rush against the Chiefs with 3-man defensive fronts, rushing 3 and get pressure. And we don't seem to hardly ever get pressure with just 4. But so, yeah, again, I don't think you and I are that far off. Nick, where do you come out on that?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to have guys, right, that are good. I just think that you see defensive-minded people that continually have success, right? And then you have people that continually don't have success. And I think that what we've seen with Spags, it hasn't been awful, but it hasn't been top in the NFL, which if we had top in the NFL, we'd probably be looking at 2 or 3 more Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes. We could have legitimately three-peated with the roster that we had on his rookie contract if we had a better defense, right? Is anybody disputing that? No, I don't think
way.
So.
Yeah, no way.
So, like, I look at it as if we had I don't know, Vic Fangio was brought up. If we had a Bill Belichick type defensive mind with our players, do we think that we would have a better defense? And I think the answer is yes. I think that we have, if you look at Chris Jones, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, and I'll even say McDuffie as a rookie, he's looked good. Now, I know he let an interception hit him in the face, but aside from that, he's looked pretty solid, and he's played pretty solid. Now, you're talking about if you have 4 really good to above average players, and then the rest of your guys are average guys, that's going to be pretty much what you're going to have with most teams. And if you can't turn that into, a top 10 unit, I think that's scheme, coaching, attitude. So I put this mostly on the team's focus on defense. Personally, that's what I think. But I don't know. I'm more of the thinking that like you're going to have 2 or 3 or 4 really good guys, and then the rest of your guys are going to be kind of replacement level NFL players. You're not going to have a Legion of Boom where everybody is like super good at their position very often. And I think that like the really good people can make it work, and the other people can't. So.
I think some of our guys in the secondary, especially on defense, are low league average stuff. So I just see guys missing too many tackles. I see Josh Williams really struggling. He's a rookie. Maybe he gets better, but it seems like he's getting picked on, and he's given up a lot of, Stephon Diggs burned him, I want to say, for a touchdown against the Bills. Gabe Davis burned him. Jamar Chase. But I just see the guy. Those are upper echelon receivers, but, give him some help. I've seen some film breakdowns too where people say Juan Thornhill's not in position. And I see him missing tackles like on the Jamar Chase where it was 3rd down and we have 4 guys in position to make the play and no one makes the tackle and he gets a 1st down. So interesting to see there. One thing that is intriguing to me from the defense the last couple of games has been, it looks like George Karlaftis maybe is getting some mojo going. Well, I want to say it's his 3rd game in a row with a sack now. So
leads the league in batted passes.
Leading the league in batted passes. He's starting to develop. He's coming around. If he can continue to grow, especially by playoff time, that could really help all aspects of the defense. So let's just hope we continue to see.
We've mentioned him here time and time again, though. Like we've talked about how he's just been like this close. We've seen all the batted passes he's had. We've always brought it up, and we're always talking about how he's just like 1 step away from getting sacked. So it's good to see him finally get one and get in there.
Tom's making a couple good points about coaching, letting us down, and some about why were we throwing the ball every down when we're up 27. Yeah, one of those drives was late in the first half, though, and so they're trying to move the ball quickly to go down and maybe get that touchdown back. When it got 27-7, I want to say there was like 3 minutes left in the half or maybe a little under 3 minutes left. So they're kind of in hurry-up mode trying to go down and score and get those points back. So I understood that a little bit more. But, yeah, it is kind of strange. On the other hand, though, how many times have you seen the Chiefs blow a big lead and people complain that Andy got too conservative, right? He didn't keep the pedal to the metal. He let off the gas and let him catch back up. So, to me, it's kind of those situations where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
He would have had that criticism, though, if we didn't run the ball as well as we did, though, right? Like, I feel like he went to exactly what you're talking about. He does that. He goes conservative play calling, and luckily the run game kind of like covered his play calling that game in the sense that we were able to pick up 1st downs. And instead of just being like, why wouldn't you give it to Patrick Mahomes? Why are you trying to give it to CEH? Like I hate to it sucks the dude's injured, but as you were saying earlier on top of the show, man, the Pacheco McKinnon 1-2 punch. It's like, finally, thank you. Like now we have something to lean on and actually to work with. Like, yeah,
sure, yeah, and definitely that first drive that ended in the first Patrick Mahomes interception. Maybe wanted to see a little bit more running, a little bit eat the clock there. But yeah, that second drive where Patrick threw the second pick there, that was late in the first half, and they're trying to get down and score points. So I understood maybe the play calling and being pass heavy there in that situation. So but those are good points to bring up, Tom. That's a good take. Good stuff there for sure. Hefe's had some good comments. So chat helping us out tonight. Appreciate that. Always makes for more fun and a lot easier on us. Give us something to talk about. Got Jay's in here too. Welcome, Jay. I agree with that.
Yeah, we've talked about that on previous episodes where, I mean, you can obviously tell the vision for this team is an offensive-minded team, and the defense is always going to take a back seat
Sure.
in Reed's mind. So,
Right. Yeah, and when you got Patrick Mahomes, that's the way it should be. You should be passing more. But I do agree. There's some situations where, especially now that we've got Pacheco and McKinnon out there, maybe not run, maybe screen passes, those short passes instead of trying to thread the needle and pass it downfield when the Broncos are dropping 7 or 8 guys into coverage. So Chiefs get the win. They are 10-3.
Let's go.
10-3, tied for the best record in the AFC with the Buffalo Bills. Unfortunately, the Bills have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs, courtesy of that Week 5 win at Arrowhead, which was also a close game that we had kind of won and let Josh Allen come down in a late game-winning drive. And then I believe that game ended in a Patrick Mahomes interception as well. So neck and neck in there with the top of the cream of the crop in the AFC. They can win the division with a win against the Texans on Sunday. And that would be, 4 games left, 3 games left after that. So pretty wild. Be interesting to see what they do there. We got this week's Chiefs Kingdom Live poll. This kind of goes back to what you're talking about, the run game and the dominance of Isaiah Pacheco. I wanted to have a little bit of fun with this. So you want to bring it up on the screen there, Nick?
yeah, my guy Jamie said Andy did the same thing in Philly. So,
yeah, and again, it's tough.
The offense and defense.
He doesn't keep throwing. People say, oh, well, he took his foot off the gas and he got too conservative. But then when he doesn't, then it's like, why doesn't he run the ball more? But I agree. Especially on before that first Patrick Mahomes interception, I would like to see some more runs and maybe try to get some clock there and milk that lead a bit. Got this week's poll. Which sounds worse, trying to tackle Isaiah Pacheco or getting a pancake blocked by Trey Smith? This is obviously going to the game-stealing run by Isaiah Pacheco where he just ran 2 defenders over. He's been doing that all season. And there was also the highlight video on the Jerick McKinnon, the second touchdown there, close to inside the red zone there in the goal line, where he just leveled the Broncos defender and really broke that play open for Jet to scoot into the end zone there. Myself, I was kind of surprised it was as lopsided as it was. I'm taking the getting blocked by Trey Smith. I know he's a big man, but Isaiah Pacheco, I feel like he's moving a lot faster. And I feel like he's got that intent to punish and hurt maybe a little bit more than Trey Smith is. So I don't want any piece of either of them. But, yeah, if I could take my pick, I'll take my chances with Trey Smith. Nick?
Have you ever hit your head on something that kind of moves and it hurts? And then have you ever hit your head on something that's like totally solid and there's no give or no move at all? I think that's the difference here. I actually answered trying to tackle Pacheco before I saw that highlight video from Trey Smith. And when he was moving and when he took that guy out, there was no slowing down of Trey Smith at all. It was all him, just like it looked like he just kept running through a tissue. And so I don't know, man. I gotta go with the crowd here. Pancake by Trey Smith sounds worse to me. At least when Pacheco hit those defenders, it seems like he at least has some kind of slowdown. There was nothing there with Trey Smith.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I'm 6'1", 215 pounds, big dude. I feel like I could absorb Pacheco, maybe come with him as he's hitting me. But, like, if Trey Smith's coming right at me, looking me dead in the eyes, it's, as they're alluding to in the chat, your spleen's done. You're just done. I was watching that highlight video, too. His initial block was on a linebacker, and he literally just says, and just tosses a grown man aside like he's nothing, and then runs over and makes the pancake block that we're all talking about. I would hate to be in that guy's path, so I'm going with Trey Smith.
Yeah, Jay here's got a point. With Pacheco, the damage is probably going to be more centralized to like one part of your body and be worse. But with Trey Smith, you're like full body cast.
Right. Well, it's the old, energy time, energy mass to speed of light, right? E equals MC squared. I don't know. Pacheco's moving a lot faster, but he's also not as big as Trey Smith. So I don't want any piece of either. I might be interested to see what the chat thinks. Which one they're not. I'm not wanting to try to tackle Pacheco. Yeah, I mean, Tom brings up another good point there. So
yeah, he'd run over me and then keep running. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Got half a Justin Simmons should have made a business and just slid. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he saw him coming though. Again, don't want any piece of either of those actions. Trey Smith running or Isaiah Pacheco. But again, I just feel like Pacheco is going to be moving a little bit faster with a little bit more malicious intent than Trey Smith. But
I think on a professional football level, dude, speed. I know it's a little bit faster, but dude, when you got a guy that big moving that fast and Trey Smith, like,
yeah,
I'm good on that.
Game coming up Sunday. Chiefs take on the Houston Texans. If they win the division. I put out a tweet, and again, kind of patting ourselves on the back here. There was one show that told you, if you watch Chiefs Kingdom Live, you would know not to worry about the hype of the Broncos and Russell Wilson and the Raiders and Devontae Adams.
No, preseason.
And the Chargers too much. I never really saw any of those teams as a serious threat. I kind of knew Russell Wilson was on the downslide his last year there in Seattle. He did not look very good. He looked kind of old and slow. And the Raiders still had Derek Carr and a terrible coach, and they're the Raiders. The Chargers, they went out and got Khalil Mack, but Khalil Mack's going to make the difference. So Chiefs go for this. And here's another thing, too. I was thinking this just popped into my head. It's kind of on topic, but a little off topic. The Broncos, they passed on Justin Fields for Patrick Surtain Jr., cornerback in the draft a couple of years ago, and then gave all that money and picks up for old ass Russell Wilson. Like, that is just terrible organizational management.
Love it.
The Broncos there. I mean,
who installed the Chiefs mole into the Broncos organization? I love it.
Now there's people talking that's looking like that could be a top 2 or 3 pick that the Broncos gave up for Russell Wilson because of how bad they are this year. Just keeps getting worse for them. So life's good.
Have you seen the conspiracy theories of Broncos fans floating around on the internet saying like, no, we're doing this on purpose so that we can get better draft picks so that we can surround Russ with weapons. And we're coming out next year. It's just like, okay.
How's that helping you give up your first pick, your early picks for Russell Wilson? That doesn't make any sense at all. That's terrible analysis by anybody that is going that route. But
it's out there. I'm not the one doing it.
Yeah, Tom, I've been calling for that the last 2 weeks, so let's hope he hits it. He's been close. He's been close a couple of times.
During this last game, I actually text these two in a group message. I'm like, man, it feels like Pacheco's just due for a long run. And like everybody's like, I was about to text you that too. Like, it just feels like he's due, right?
Yeah, for sure. It does feel like he's due.
It seems like he's been a step away 5 or 6 times from a really big run. So
right, he's got the speed. He can do it. He can get out there, and if he gets in the open field, he's going to be gone. But fastest 40 time of any running back in the combine last year. Chiefs, I think it was our guy John, the curse of the spread here, 14-point favorite on the road. Houston Texans, they played the Cowboys pretty tough, who have a good defense.
Almost won, right?
And are one of the better teams in the NFC. So Chiefs are going for 7th straight AFC West division title with a win. Regardless of what the Chargers do, if Chiefs win this, they win the division. They're guaranteed the home game. They keep pace with the Buffalo Bills. for that 1 seed in the AFC playoffs.
Coming down the wire.
You always know it's getting into December and late in the year when you get the email from the Chiefs saying, "Hey, by the way, your playoff tickets are going to be payment is coming due." And I'm like, man, like playoffs are like 5 weeks away, but they want their money early. So, how you guys feeling? Just overall thoughts, feelings about the game Sunday against Houston Texans on the road, Bo?
Aren't the Texans like 1-11 and 1 or something? They have a tie. Aren't they just doing terrible? Is it just me?
Yeah, they tied the Colts. They're like 1-10-1 or 1-11-1 or something. They're all
so obviously feeling pretty good about the game, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like we say this kind of every week. We're so notorious for letting teams either play up to us or we play down to them, or like teams are just trying so much harder against us. One of those things that, man, and we just talked about it earlier, the spread, like they're not – Vegas is kind of throwing the jinx at us again, giving us a 14-point spread. So
smoke the 49ers, one of the top teams in the NFC on
right.
the road, then struggle with the Denver Broncos. So
exactly.
Jacksonville Jaguars at home.
I'm always optimistic for that 50 burger, man. I thought we were going to get it last week. We were cruising right to it. We're on pace for over. And I feel that confident in this game, but then it's just that little creep of doubt, just like, oh man, which Chiefs team's coming out this week? Is it going to be the one that actually puts the pedal to the metal, or is it going to be the one that lets them hang around? I'm hoping for the former, but I'm kind of expecting the latter. But yeah, we'll see. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I'm not worried about this game at all. But I mean, I think the Chiefs already lost to a subpar team in the Colts earlier this year. I don't foresee this as like a trap game. They just got alerted by the Broncos that no lead is safe. So you need to keep pouring it on, and you need to, have your shit together. And I started to feel even more better. I'm going to pull up the keys to the kingdom here. So like just when you look at it, right? Offensive points per game, the Chiefs are now down to second. Jamie and his Eagles took over the crown there. They almost had a 50 burger this past weekend. So, but the Chiefs are second in the league with points scored per game. The Texans are at 30th, only scoring 16 points a game. And defensively, the Chiefs went up to 19th in the league at 23 points a game. The Texans are at 26th. And you've seen what we've done to defenses that are, ranked in the top 10, top 5. So we're going up against a much worse defensive unit than we did against the Broncos. Look at total passing yards here, right? The Chiefs have 4,100 passing yards. The Texans have 2,700. So, I mean, we're it's not double, but it's, 60, 70% more passing yards. Now, the only thing that kind of worries me here, right, is you can see that the Chiefs, I messed up the number here. It was I think it was 25th, but the Chiefs' third down conversion percentage that their defense has given up is actually worse than the Texans. So that's not good. And then our turnover differential here is a push. We're tied on turnover differential. So there's a couple of things that we need to clean up that could potentially hurt us in this game. But just if the Chiefs just play an average game, they're gonna beat the bricks off of this team. And then one of the things that really stood out to me when I was thinking about this game was that one of these teams drafted Patrick Mahomes over Deshaun Watson. And if you look at the course, right, that decision put one team on versus the other, I think that's a thing that really stands out. The Chiefs went ahead and went for Patrick, and he's been the better player. He's been the better human being. And the organizations think about that playoff game that we were at, Scott, where we were down 24-0 to the Texans and Deshaun Watson, and came back and won. And it just seemed like after that, the Texans were broken, and they've just done nothing but death spiral since. So I think that this is going to be an easy weekend for Chiefs fans. I think that, Bo, if we're going to get a 50 burger this season, this is going to be the game. And I think it's going to happen this week.
Let's go.
I'd like to see it, obviously. All those stats, good job, Nick. Those are all in favor of the Chiefs. clearly no one's going to confuse who's the far superior team in this game. So what are you guys looking at as far as maybe like players to watch or something to look for in this game? I know I said someone looked like they had a comment about Chiefs get up big and then go to prevent and maybe give up some points. And I'll be honest with you right now. If the Chiefs can get up like 40-7 and then give up some garbage time touchdowns, that wouldn't kill me too bad because first round of the fantasy football playoffs this week, and the guy I'm playing has the Chiefs defense, of course. So I wouldn't mind, some garbage time points out of the Texans. I'm not going to complain at all about that scenario if that plays out. But just what are you, like I said, Bo, who are you looking at? Big time for performer or defense, offense? Who are you looking to for this game?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go ahead and cheat on this one and take Mr. 87, man. He's been quiet the past 2 games. I still feel like he's holding on a little grudge from fumbling that ball in Cincinnati. I can imagine him coming out and having just an electrifying game against a defense that's pretty lackluster. This last game, he became the quickest tight end to reach 10,000 yards while also simultaneously having his 7th consecutive 1,000-yard season. So I'm looking at number 87, TMFK, Travis Kelce, to have himself a game this week. I know it's kind of the easy route to take,
that's the ace up my sleeve, Bo.
There we go. We trade off with that. How about you, Nick?
I think I'm going to go with a little bit of a wild card here and kind of trolling Scott, but I'm going to pick MVS. I think he's going to have a huge game. There's been a few times where he's gotten behind defenses and he's either dropped the pass or Mahomes has missed him, and they connected on that third down. I think that maybe they're starting to get a little bit of their mental lapses or whatever's keeping them out of sync together. So I think MVS is going to have a big game. It's his turn this week.
Ooh, well, they better throw the ball to him about 25 times because he only catches about half the
We
passes.
love that answer.
They throw it to him. So
at least he catches the ones over 20 yards.
Yeah. No, Tom, that's definitely in play for sure. But I think the Chiefs get up big enough in this game to where that's not really an issue. I'm going to – if Bo is cheating, I'm really cheating because I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes is going to get 3 interceptions. And I feel sorry for the Texans defense. Let's just put it that way. He hears all this Jalen Hurts MVP talk. He's not happy about the interceptions that he threw last week. Any idea that he's going to go into a shell or they're going to become a running team is nonsense. I think you see him throwing it all over the Texans often and early in this game. So, and I guess if I'm going to pick somebody outside of Patrick, I'm looking for, Juju's been quiet here for a few weeks. He's had some nice catches, but he hasn't had like a 100-yard game. And obviously he got hurt in that game and missed a game and has come back from injury. So, I'm looking to see Patrick and Juju team up in this game.
I thought Juju did really good in the Broncos game.
Right. Patrick reasserted himself. McCole Hardman plays, if he plays, that'd be great. Teams missed him more than most people realize. More than I think I would realize.
Yeah.
They'd miss him before he got injured.
I don't think he's allowed to play. I think you have X amount of days you have to practice before you can play coming off of IR.
It's like a 21-day window where you can practice with the team, and then they can put you on the active roster at any time. I thought I might have that wrong, but
I'm fuzzy on it. And I've had a few beers, so don't trust me.
You're good. You're good. I think he can play it. I think
now we're going to go to our resident rules expert, Bo.
Let's go to Nick on the locker room rant. He'll definitely know the answer.
Looks like Brenda is with me on Juju having a big game, so let's hope Juju can get some action going there. Kadarius, if he's back, interested to see what the Chiefs do with him. That hamstring, that's been a thing that it's been kind of plaguing him all season.
Right.
That was, I think, maybe part of the reason the Giants dumped him off on us for what they, kind of gave him to us early Christmas. So that was like Christmas in October for the Chiefs, getting that guy in that trade for a third-round pick or whatever it was that they gave up for KT. So they definitely missed McColl in the red zone for sure. That jet sweep.
I bet if you graphed out the red zone percentage, you'd be able to tell exactly the game he went up.
Yeah,
You probably did hear that, Tom. I'm probably wrong on all this. Yeah.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's just like the team picking up Patrick in the game. The chat's picking us up here, picking up Bo in the comments. But Tony and Pacheco, there you go. Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'm pumped about McKinnon too, man. That guy, he's looking like playoff McKinnon from last year, right?
Oh yeah,
Right.
Last couple weeks, he's had 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. He had 9 targets in that game. So if he's sitting on your waiver wires in fantasy, and if you're playing in the playoffs, maybe go pick up Jarrett McKinnon and thank me later. But let's
It's getting late in fantasy. I know it's our playoffs, so
It is. It's starting this week's first round. So you got to get them waiver wire. You got to that's the key, man. Going in the playoffs, find that diamond in the rough that's going to get you some action too. And it's a little bit more fantasy football advice. Mike Boone is out for the remainder of the season in Denver, and Marlon Mack looks like he could be in line for some serious touches. That name is brutal for anybody who's ever gone down the Marlon Mack road in fantasy.
right.
But Latavius Murray's looking kind of old and slow, and Mike Boone's out of the picture, man. He could be a workhorse. He could become a guy who, based purely on the number of touches he's going to get, could be a good solid pickup going into your fantasy football playoffs as well. But what are we thinking score-wise in this game? If you're in the chat, send us your final score. Chiefs cover the spread or not. Let us know what you're thinking. Nick?
Chiefs win 54-17.
Ooh,
54.
jeez.
That score got me?
I think the under is hit on the spread 80% of the time this year on teams over 10 points if they have a spread of 10 points or more. So I'm gonna have to go with that stat. I'm gonna go Chiefs. I like the high score though. I'm gonna go 42-28.
I hope they don't give up 28 points to the Texans. Well, actually, I kind of do as long as we win, because that would be good for round 1 of the playoffs for me. I'm trying to think. What's 5 touchdowns and 3 field goals? What is that? 35 and 9, 44? I'm going 44-20. Chiefs with obvious garbage time prevent Tom's prevent defense. Yeah. There late in the game. I think there's a good possibility you see Chad Henne.
Ooh, I like that prediction right there. That's better than any score right there.
Any given Sunday, baby. Anything is possible. Here's the thing, too, that also sucks. Not only does blowing big leads against teams like the Broncos, or if they were to do it against the Texans coming down the stretch, not only does it make you worry about the playoffs and game, it also, like, getting rest at this point in the season for some of your starters, where if you get up big in the second half, you can get Travis Kelce off the field. You could maybe save Patrick Mahomes a couple of series. Maybe you can get Rojo into a game and save some carries and some hits from Pacheco and McKinnon coming down the stretch here, like mini buys, right? We saw that last year with the Chiefs in a couple of games down the stretch. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to afford to sit the final game of the year either, with the being neck and neck with the Bills for the 1 seed. So I think you're going to see the starters in Week 18 this year. So that's also a key benefit of getting up big and keeping teams down and getting leads and getting some rest for these guys. That's a long season. And the Chiefs, they didn't have an early bye, but they didn't have a late bye either. It was mid-season, so the dings and and the nicks are piling up on these guys. I saw Patrick Mahomes was dealing with a little bit of an injury this week. Nothing to worry about as far as being able to play or not, but we'd like to see some guys get some rest.
Henny can complete a pass when it matters, man.
Yeah, just ask the Browns.
Yeah, 4th down, right?
Right.
It was only like 2 yards, but he did it.
Right. Before we get out of here, did you guys see they put out the top 5 receiving yards guys the NFL did?
No, I didn't. I've been on the road.
Patrick Mahomes. Tyreek Hill is second with 1,460 yards already, or 1,460 yards. Travis Kelce is 5th again in the top 5. Up there. It's like Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce. The dude's unbelievable, man. He's a beast, man. God, I love watching that guy play football. I think you could be on something, Bo. He had kind of a quiet game against the Broncos outside of that one big long catch there. Patrick missed him on a couple too, so be interesting to see there what Travis does. Teams bouncing back, playing for a division championship, 7 straight years. I think I saw somewhere said the Raiders have won like 7 division championships since 1960 or something like that, and the Chiefs are going for 7 in a row. Just really amazing what this team is doing with all the new faces. Losing Tyreek Hill, who's 2nd in the league in receiving right now, on pace for almost 2,000 yards receiving. Really, really amazing job by the Chiefs. Front office, coaches, players stepping up. They're just it's supposed to be a rebuilding year. A lot of people were saying. So you guys want to, just before we get out, you guys want to talk playoff picture a little bit here, how we're thinking. Chiefs are 10-3 with the Bills tied for the best record in the AFC. And then kind of like right on their heels is a handful of teams. The Bengals are right in there, I want to say, with 4 losses. Gosh darn, who's the other team in the AFC?
Dolphins are right there.
Ravens.
Yeah, Dolphins. Yeah, Ravens. The Ravens are sitting there with 4 losses. Chargers beat the Dolphins last week. They're in the playoffs right now. They'd be the 7th seed. How do you guys think? How are you feeling about 1 seed for the Chiefs, possible opponents? What are you thinking, Bo?
I still think we're in the driver's seat for the playoffs, man. We have, if you look at all those teams that you just mentioned, you look at their schedule going forward and our schedule going forward, we definitely have the advantage there. We could easily run the table, win out, and kind of control that 1 seed if we play up to what we're capable of. I mean, the Bengals and the Bills, they play each other, so one team's going to get a loss there, which is huge for either of those teams, but it means the other team's going to get a win, so we're still right there with them. If we win out, man, I mean, there's no reason to be. We're number 1 right there. I mean, that's huge. It would be interesting if the Chargers snuck in the 7th and we were 2. We had to play the Chargers first round. Like, that would be pretty interesting. But I think we're good, man. I think as long as we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, we should take this thing home.
I'll take the Patriots, Tom. First round playoffs.
Yeah.
Out of that group, I don't think the Patriots are very good. I don't think the Patriots are going to make the playoffs, but you never know with the hoodie. Nick, how you feeling about 1 seed, potential playoff opponents? How you feeling? The playoffs here.
We're waiting on the Bills to lose, right? So, I mean, if I had to bet that the Bills win out or lose a game, I think it's not quite a coin flip, but I think it's closer to a coin flip than I feel comfortable with. I think that the Bills will probably lose 1 more game, but it's going to be either the Dolphins the Dolphins would then sweep the Bills, which I think is unlikely, or the Bengals, who are a hot team. So maybe we'll all be rooting for the Bengals to win. And the Chiefs, they can't overlook. They've got another game against the Broncos and another game against the Raiders. Both of those games that we played, those teams, I know that they've stunk this year, but they were both closer games than we would have liked. So, the Chiefs have to stay focused. I mean, the Seahawks can put up a lot of points. Our defense hasn't been super great. So, the good news is the Seahawks defense sucks.
Right.
But I think we'll probably win out and end up with the 1 seed, but I give that probably like a 60 to 70% chance. So if we are in the 2 seed, I think John nailed it. And I mean, the team that I would least like to see is the Chargers. I just think it's going to be hard to beat any team 3 times in one season. So, I'm all for the Patriots. I think that's closer to out of all those teams, that's the closest to, getting the bye week, right? So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Like you said, the Bengals play the Bills, and the Bills are like they're on the struggle bus kind of here. They're hanging on.
Von Miller's out,
dude. They're in nail. Yeah, Von Miller's out here, and the Bills are like they're in nail biters every week, like needing last second field goals. The Chiefs, I know it was a closer game against the Broncos, but they were up by a touchdown basically in that game going down the stretch there. They weren't needing a last-second field goal to beat the Lions or last-second field goal to beat the Jets or one of these other teams. So it's kind of interesting to see how the Dolphins are kind of fading here. They've lost a couple of games now. Tua is definitely not playing as good as he was first couple of weeks of the season. That was a team we talked about this last week or so on this show about like that team scared me a little bit with the Cheetah and Jalen Waddle up against our secondary.
Completely, dude.
But so I don't know. Maybe they beat the Bills again. They beat them once. Got Laney's in here. No worries, Laney. Not sure if we got Big Doug in the house or not, but I think Big Doug's birthday today. So
no shit, happy birthday, Doug.
If you're in the chat, wish Big Doug a happy birthday. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I think the Chiefs are going to get the 1 seed. I think the Bengals and or the Dolphins take care of the Bills. Just a lot of games we played. I mean, we could be sitting there hoping that, if the Bills lose to the Dolphins, then you'd be rooting for them to beat the Bengals because the Bengals are only 1 game behind us. But I think with the Bills' schedule and the way they've been playing, it's kind of in our hands still. Just win out, take care of business each week.
See this take here. I have to disagree with you, Tom, respectfully, sir. The only reason is you get that 1 seed. You have that bye week. And
right.
Man, is that looking so
most likely that you'll get the Bengals and the Bills to knock one of the other teams out if you're in the 1 seed. Mm-hmm. That's the advantage there, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Sure. We saw what happened though. The Chiefs were the 2 last year, and the Titans got knocked out in the first round. So anything can happen just because you get the 2 doesn't mean it's over. So, but the playoff picture is kind of rounded and taking shape here. I don't know about the Chargers. I know there's some people in the comments saying they don't want to play the Chargers. I don't think the Chargers are done losing. So I would be kind of surprised if they make the playoffs. Actually, I just feel like that's a team that it's chargering, right? That's like it's like a verb now. Be added into the dictionary here at some point. Chargering,
interchangeable with raidering,
right? Yeah, interchangeable with raidering. So, but I'm with John and having that 1 seed, bringing it through Arrowhead because I got tickets to the game. So. Another AFC Championship game at home sounds fun to me. I'll take that side for that right now, no doubt. I know that's being a little bit obvious, but we're getting close, fellas. So
it's right there. I can taste it.
Right there. We're gonna have playoff football before we know it. But before we get to the playoffs, got to take care of those Texans, the former Dallas Texans playing the current Houston Texans. They ought to come up with some like Texans Bowl or some sort of like these college teams got the Iron Bowl or they got
a rivalry.
get a little rivalry thing. I used to have the Governor's Cup when the Rams were in St. Louis. Maybe we could get the Texans Bowl or something. And
I think I read some today, though, that this is Patrick Mahomes' first time playing as a professional in Texas, his home state. So it's like a little homecoming for him.
Really?
I think that's what I read. Yeah.
Huh. That's
Let's
pretty
see
wild.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
Patrick Mahomes will play his first career NFL game in his home state of Texas this Sunday against the Texans. The last time Patrick Mahomes played in the state of Texas was November 25th, 2016. His last year at Texas Tech, he threw 6 touchdowns in his final college game against Baylor.
There we go.
I would take that in a heartbeat. 6 touchdowns.
Oh yeah, I got him on my fantasy team, so I definitely
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of wild that he's been in the league for this long as he's never played in Texas. I guess there's only 2 teams in Texas, and one of them's NFC, but you would have thought at some point they would have played one of those 2 teams down there.
Right.
Yeah. Playoffs right around the corner. The Chiefs took care of the Denver Broncos, 14 straight games. Love that. I hate the Broncos.
Patrick Mahomes 10-0 against the Broncos.
10-0 against the Broncos.
I think Andrew Luck has the longest streak against the the Titans at 11. So if he beats the Broncos again, he'll tie Luck for
All right, let's do it.
longest streak against an opponent.
January 1st, New Year's Day, is the second matchup, second to last game of the year against the Denver Broncos. So you're looking forward to that game coming up here right there at the start of the new year. Appreciate everybody, as always, for watching. Thank you so
everybody.
much for following our channel and following us on Twitter and sending us comments and liking the show and subscribing. It's a lot of fun. I know I look forward to doing this every week and really enjoy it, and it's really added to my enjoyment of the Chiefs and of being a Chiefs fan. Getting to come on here with you guys and all our friends here in the chat and all of our followers, mixing it up. So. You guys got anything you want to say before we get out? Final thoughts?
I'm good.
All right.
No, it's just kick the shit out of the Texans. That's all.
Go Chiefs!
I'm going to call it. I don't think you see any turnovers by the Chiefs this week. That's 6 or 7 straight games with a turnover. That's going to be a point of emphasis. I guarantee it in that locker room and in those meeting rooms this week is not turning the ball over. Chiefs are right where you want to be, man. It's kind of like all right in front of them, and you got some easy games with a couple of the tougher ones. The Seahawks game, that might be the toughest game left of the batch, and it's at home. So the Chiefs are in a sweet spot right now. Just got to take care of the bottom feeders here, the Houston Texans, this week, which I don't think they're going to struggle to do. So thanks again for watching. Thanks again. If you haven't clicked like or subscribe, do that now and help us out a bunch. And until next week, let's go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs!